back. Happy New Year and welcome to 2023. We welcome John Shaughnessy to the podcast for the first episode of the year. This one came up pretty quickly and recorded it pretty quickly, and it's a really cool episode. John's got a couple of books about pyramids and gravity in the moon, which is what we're going to call this one, because we dive across many different subjects. We didn't really focus on one thing. It was a good all-round conversation about John's research and how we got to that. And it's very fascinating. The bottom line is we don't know what the pyramids were for, how they were used, and why they were used. So I think we need to be open to all perspectives, and John's is a very compelling one that needs to be taken into account. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking to him and look forward to sitting down again in the future. A lot of interesting things on the podcast this year. We're going to finish the book, probably start a new book, and dig into a more esoteric subject. So I've got a few goals and a few things I want to achieve. However, I'll let you know about those as they come up. Hopefully the Christmas and New Year period treated you well. I don't have too much more for this one. We're going to use Detoxify by Loomis as the song. I just love that song. It's cool and you don't hear it very much. Remember, we're on Patreon, Unlocking the Code. You want to throw a few bucks our way, that does help. Instagram, Facebook, Unlocking the Code. Give us a like, give us a follow. And look, the whole review 5 stars thing, it does help the algorithm. I try and do it with the shows that I watch. If you could give us one of those, that'd be awesome. Please look after yourselves. Be kind, be cool, be disciplined. And we'll talk soon. Cheers.
There's a poison in the structure. People suffer, people suffocate. We're suffocated daily, making our own bubble. Subtle is the cuddle of the snake that squeezes. Hate to see this matrix seizes. Maybe we just need to pull the plug. Drain the system, poison out of body. You've been probably overdosing most of your life and never noticed. Overloaded, rub the cups and come and toast. And no one's open, no emotion, no engulfed in this dimension here. We work all day and it's always a thinking crystal clear. Everything we do revolves around the dollar count. It's all around us, all around. We're falling down. It knocks you out, get off the couch. It's all think out the top of flame will cost you cancer, jobs and houses all around us. Got your spouses, got your house, you call the council, got no answers. Evolving out in small amounts. It's all we have, it's all planned out for our defeat. Water down the modern man and bottle up. So we have no intuition of a vision that it's all corrupt. I know we read our vision, if we always been forgotten. We're sick of our thoughts and living in boxes. Now let's go find all of those outreaches, forgotten the beaches to walk on the treetops tomorrow. All pieces are part of us. Go find out what's been making you tick, but didn't face it with criticism. Awaken your inner visions. Slow life down, you better leave your belongings. You'll start receiving your callings and be unleashing from bondages. Bringing it out and draining it out. Every day is about a way to get out. Find a solution, live illusion, portrayed every day in our face. We do what they say, they use us away. Pollution can take, inducing our brains. We choose to escape, to do what they make, to do what they make. You wear it on your face, I can see the burden on your shoulders heavy. And it's getting unrelenting. You're fouling from how hard the world strains you. When stress is depresses, confess. It's just a system that's a hope that puts you in scenarios you never chose. It's not your fault that every known element in your life is in control. Everything but not your soul. So this can be some therapy, some psychedelic clarity. Don't fight between polarities, go where it will not go. Slide between the barricades, it's nice to be aware of things. It's kinda like some kerosene, lighten up the world. It's a poisonous system, you didn't invent this prison. So who'd you be when it's all out? Everything you think needs to go now. Defeat the people that hold down you from beating you, blow out your brain cloud. Become new and escape now, take Route 86, escape now. Gotta lay down everything you learned, everything you know, everything they ever told you. Been the poison from your soul. Bringing it out and draining it out. Every day is about a way to get out. Our minds are polluted, find a solution, life illusion. Portrayed every day in our face. We do they say, the uses away. Pollution can take, inducing our brains. We choose to escape, do what they make, do what they make. People beyond. People beyond. Waking up to the people we need to be. 2004. Beat by Cumulus.
great electrical energy. I feel connected to all living things, to flowers, to some special spirit, and even to some great unseen living force.
G'day everyone, welcome back. It's my great pleasure to introduce John Shaughnessy to the podcast. I love social media because John and I had many mutual friends, and I friended John, and turns out he's got 2 books on the pyramid, a book on the moon, and he's here to talk to us about those today. How are you, John?
Good. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
No worries, mate. Now that we've started 15 different conversations before we hit the record button. And obviously the big book you've done is the Pyramid Gravity Force, right? You were looking at pyramids and the purpose behind the pyramids and how they work and stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously that's a very large question, but where did it all start, mate? Where did you start in the rabbit hole?
Yeah, my background, is engineering, power plant operations, hydroelectric, power plant at the utility level, working on gas turbines. So I'm exposed to basically all the disciplines of science, so that's my background. Particularly educated and self-educated in, gravity, a lot of my stuff is, a lot of my education is self-taught. I'll reading Einstein's theory of relativity, Tesla, all the older, Newtonian physics, all the greats. And so anyways, I've always, had a fascination with the pyramids, just, what are these things doing? What's and I've been, more or less, listening to, people talking about them and the TV shows, the videos, so I always had a little bite of interest in it. And, it was one day I walked into my living room and Makio Kaku actually, he's a physicist, and I think he's one of the founders of string theory. If I'm not wrong, I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I will walk into my living room. Somebody left the TV on. I'm doing the free fall into the recliner, and he goes, "We still don't know what these pyramids are doing, right?"
Yeah.
So I slammed down into the old lazy boy, the recliner, and I have a floor-mounted globe, and an epiphany came to my brain, and I just said, I wonder what's on the other side of the Giza Plateau, the pyramids. Like
what's on the opposite? What's on the opposite?
I've always had globes in my house, for as long as I can remember. I always had a globe somewhere. I got like maybe 20 of them in my house right now. So
I can see a couple behind you right now. Yeah.
They're all over the place. I got one with an arrow going through. We'll get into my physics later. Well, yeah, so I got them all over the place. But so I get up, I take the 15-foot walk over to the globe, and I spin it. I find the Giza Plateau, go 180 degrees, and there I landed on the Hawaiian Islands, the Hawaiian hotspot. So whoa, that's trippy. What's going on there? So because of my fascination with gravity, I kind of was trying to. It kind of like came in, but I couldn't grasp what the connections were between that. So then I said, well, okay, if the Giza Plateau is lining up with the Hawaiian hotspot, well, what other large pyramid, places around the globe, what are they lining up with? So I went to the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, all the pyramids there, same thing, 180 degrees away on the same approximate latitude, longitude. You had Mount Sigiriya, right? And that was, a dormant volcano with a massive magma plug in it. It's like shaped like an elongated skull alien. It actually has terraces on it. It's got large, giant claws on the scale like the Great Sphinx in Egypt. Nobody knows where it came from. Nobody knows who built it.
No one knows any of that stuff. Yep.
Yeah. So over there, they're just lost. So I said, okay. So I go over to the pyramids in, Shen, China, Sea China, actually, the Shen pyramids. And I look at that. I go, okay, 180 degrees away from that, I land on the Bermuda hotspot, which is Bermuda Island, which is made up of 2 extinct super calderas. That's what
Yes.
actually
Yeah.
made that
Yeah.
island
Yes,
formation,
it is.
right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So then so now I'm up to, I keep going and going. I got about 20 large pyramids that are over 200 feet. And all the large pyramids line up with the volcano, right? I mean, it's okay. So it's beyond just, just chance or, just a,
coincidence.
ironic
Coincidence.
Yeah. So it's like, so what's going on? So what's the connection? It's, and the only thing that came to my mind was there's a gravitational, the only thing that large that can go from one side of the planet to the other was gravitational exchange between these two locations. And then, it was the foundation of a gravity theory that I hammered out over a few years, after the book came out. I got an equation together before the book came out, my pyramid gravity force. And the equation basically is a gravitational displacement, a mass displacement. So the larger the mass is, the larger the gravitational displacement is 180 degrees away from you.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And then I started looking at, all right, let's get off the pyramids. Well, what's continents lining up with continents? Well, the continent you're on actually lines up 180 degrees opposed, same approximate latitude as South America, right?
Yep.
So, so you got these two things, these massive
two big
land mass in the southern hemisphere are locked right in with each other. And then I go up to, go to the northern hemisphere. You got the Sierra Nevadas, the Rocky Mountains, the Appalachian Mountains where I'm living, tie into the Himalayas.
Really?
180 degrees opposed from each other, right? And then you got, then you have, what do you call it? Antarctica lines up with Antarctica. So you got, a part of half of Antarctica's got pyramids and stuff, and then the other half of Antarctica has volcanic activity. So you got this. That's tough to prove because
we don't. Antarctica's tricky.
Yeah, I can't get down there.
No one can.
Let you walk around.
No, they won't let you walk around down there. That's one of the great mysteries, isn't it? What happened to Antarctica? Let's back up for a second. Because obviously you've spent a fair bit of time on gravity. Now, gravity. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? I'm not big in. I haven't looked at. I looked at gravity a while ago, but not in a great depth. Okay, my understanding is that we thought gravity is constant, but it's not. And we understand. Do we actually really understand gravity? I suppose is my question.
Well, up to a certain extent, we understand, its properties, like, the ramifications of mass. Because without mass is the, I guess the way I would explain it is, if go out into the universe, void of all mass, stars, everything, the fabric of space is gravity in a equal existence, like a neutral existence. It's not pulling, it's not tugging, it's not pushing, it's not going in, it's just in it. Now you insert mass into this fabric of space. You're in essence, what's the word I'm looking for? You're displacing that fabric. Okay. So, and then, it's like taking an ice cube, putting in a glass of water and pushing it down with your finger. All of a sudden the water is pushing up against the ice cube. Just trying to give you a visual. I mean, that's not
for sure.
The idea, but so in essence, the gravitational field, is pushing up against this mass because you basically, displace the neutral fabric of space with mass. You plug mass into it. I mean, that's just a way of, a meat and potato concept of what's going on.
It's not the fall that kills.
Time and all that stuff.
That's okay. No, it's not the fall that kills you, John. It's the sudden stop at the end, mate. And that's gravity, isn't it?
Yeah, that's gravity. That's static gravity. That's dead static gravity. You put something out there, boom, it's locked in, and that's it. Now, what we have with the Earth, we have live gravity and static gravity. So you have static gravitational field on the Earth with external gravitational forces rotating around it which we call the solar system.
Yes.
And then the moon is the biggest gravitational force on the Earth, right? So, and then that also links up with, say, Jupiter's the biggest monster in the solar system.
Yes.
Besides the sun. But so so there's you get a magnifying effect with alignments with planets, the moon, things of that nature. And those we saw in 2018. We saw the workings of the alignment between the Giza Plateau and the Hawaiian hotspot was set up when all the planets aligned on one side of the sun.
Yeah. So
basically, and then the Earth cut in front of all those planets, right? So you have all these massive planets, and then the Earth's cutting in front of it. And what it's doing, it's magnifying the gravitational pull on the planet Earth that it normally would have. And then you have this enormous release of magma pressure coming out of the Hawaiian hotspot. And like, I think every volcano that could have exploded or erupted around the planet was blasting off in 2018.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot there, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was crazy. But you didn't hear anything of anybody talking about, hey, it's an alignment. And that alignment happened like 5 times in the last 125 years, right? So, and every time that alignment happened, there was a 3,000% of volcanic activity on the planet,
Wow. Okay.
So we got here. I mean, this is just your basic
thing. Yeah.
Third rock from the sun. This is where all the mental illness is.
Yeah.
Saturn. This is the beast. Jupiter's so big, it corkscrews the sun around its orbit around the galaxy, the center of the Milky Way galaxy.
Well, those of us that know that we should bow down to Jupiter, because Jupiter also catches all the big space rocks.
It saves us. Yeah. It picks up a moon here or there every couple of 100,000 years. It grabs another moon out there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, going forward, you have that live gravity and static gravity. So, the moon. Oops. The moon. I got the moon in my hand here.
The moon
is the live gravity. It's always rotating around, pulling us, yanking us. So it's keeping the planet livable. It flexes every tectonic plate on the planet, at least 24-hour spin. It for the most part, it flexes every tectonic plate boundary, subduction zone, mid-ocean ridge. So it prevents it from building up stress, because that's what these big earthquakes are from. It's over a long period of time. Sometimes the subduction zones, they get these little notches in there, and it just builds up a ton of pressure, and then it lets go, and you have these
gets caught, and then it gets caught, and then builds the pressure, and then releases.
And then it releases. So what the moon does, indirectly, is it keeps flexing things, so you don't have as many of those massive tsunamis, earthquakes, and you get to have a half decent sleep at nighttime. So
what's interesting, I didn't think about that. I mean, it makes sense, even if from the electromagnetic force of each planet, and then you add into the gravitational when they line up. Then that makes sense that the field direction coming from the sun, if it's in line, then for sure it's going to ramp up. That makes sense. That does make sense.
So because those are, everything's following the sun. The sun's the massive gravitational pull. The other planets are swinging around it. The reason they don't get pulled into the sun is because of the velocity of the orbit. So we're doing 66,600 miles an hour. The Earth around the sun. Another reoccurring number.
Yes. Numbers are interesting, man. Numbers are interesting.
So, and that's why we don't get sucked into the sun, because our velocity around the sun, the centrifugal force, keeps us from going into it. That's how they put satellites in orbit. They got to be, going at least 20,000 miles an hour. Otherwise, they get pulled back down into the surface of the Earth. So they have a very fast rotational speed.
So you've done a bit of work on the moon. What velocity is the moon at? I mean, the moon, it interests me, right? Because it's like how from a gravitational point of view, why don't we see the other side of the moon, right? Obviously, it slowly
Yeah.
spins, but like we're on opposite sides of the planet, and we still see the same side of the moon. It fascinates me.
It's the only one that faces us. You know, it's
Mm.
the only side that faces us, and it does rotate, but it's always rotating face first. You know, the near side first,
Mm.
and I'd say it's really tough to wrap your head around it. It's like it just because you'll read one article and says, yeah, it rotates once in 27.223 days, right? Which is,
Yeah.
a moon orbit.
Mm.
And then you have a phase orbit where it goes to 30 days, which is every phase of the moon, you know, so this that happens in under 30 days. Well, it's 30 days, 30.59 days, something like that. But yeah, so there's the phases, not to be confused with the actual orbit that the moon makes around the Earth. So in essence, it's if you think about it, it does rotate. You know, the faces rotate, but we're always looking at the near side of the moon because of it's going around us in that way. So
it's hard to wrap your head around. It is hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah. The rotational speed of the moon, I think the rotational speed of the planet Earth is just 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, roughly.
And,
yeah.
And we're not geo-locked with the moon, right? So it's going a lot slower. So we're rotating,
faster than it is. Yeah.
Much faster than this is. So I think I calculated it's like 350 miles an hour. That it's going compared to the 1,000 miles an hour that we're doing. So it eventually takes 27.3. I don't have that actually. It might be 600 miles an hour, but it's like
right. No, don't worry about the numbers, mate. We're okay.
Yeah.
I want to come back to the pyramids, but only because the moon has fascinated me. I don't want to leave the moon alone for a second because what about there's cultures that exist? I mean, obviously, you know, when you get into the pyramids, you get into the advanced ancient cultures and all these sorts of things, right? There is cultures in North Africa and Asia and stuff like that talk of a time when the moon wasn't here.
Right.
I mean, how do you think about that?
I mean, it's possible that the moon was. There's two possibilities. There's one, it came into orbit, right, and then two, it was already always in orbit, but it was geo-locked over a certain part of the planet. It wasn't. It was doing 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah. Right. Okay. No,
so
that's
doing 1,000 miles an hour. So wherever you were located on the planet, you didn't see it. You know.
Okay.
Possibility.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. It was moving faster or something like that.
And the other possibility is that it was in my book, the moon. There is something about the moon.
Yeah.
The moon came into orbit around the Earth and was actually the technology from whatever was on the moon seeded life on the Earth. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's also a potential. There was, go back to the Sanskrit, the clay tablets. It was one of the guys, Enki or Enlil, or one of those guys looked out the window and they saw the devastation that they had done. This is when Nibiru came in around through the solar system and caused massive destruction. So taking a step taking a step further, the moon is Nibiru, right?
Okay.
So that's another possibility.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Because I mean, we've been recently on the show here. We've been reviewing another Australian's book, and he talks a lot about Sitchin's interpretations of the Sumerian tablets and the fact that Nibiru. So you think maybe the moon is Nibiru? That's a different conversation as well. Okay.
I mean, it's potentially. I mean, and then it came into orbit because if you read some of the Nibiru, the Anunnaki, thing like that, it seemed like that their planet was wasn't going anywhere. They were taking off, going up on the ship, and then coming back down. During the flood, Gilgamesh epic. They left was it Enlil and
Oh
Enki.
yeah, Enlil,
They get off
Enki.
the
But
planet.
there's the suns and that sort of stuff. And yeah,
Yep,
I think
and
it was there was a base. Trying to remember the interpretation. There was a base on Mars. Like one of them got sent to Mars apparently, and then there was a base on the moon, which
right.
it depends on who or what you believe, but
Yeah.
they reckon they found bases on the moon. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of unexplained things. Like I said, the images on the moon are just mind-boggling.
You showed me some of that stuff. I'm gonna have to have a dig around in that.
So
we'll make sure we put all the links to your books and stuff in the show notes and stuff for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I mean, going forward, it's like so that's the moon more or less tying in to the gravitational exchange between the Earth and the pyramids being large, the mountains being large. There's you're rotating just a pyramid or a mountain or whatever. You're rotating through this massive gravitational tug of the moon.
So you're saying that not only do the pyramids mirror volcanoes, but the large mountain ranges mirror each other as well.
Yeah. They're all the continents. So what I've come to find out is what do you call it? A finding of mine is that gravity has a self-balancing mechanism in it, and you can see it throughout the universe. Like anything over a certain amount of size takes up a spherical shape. And more likely a spherical shape when it's hot magma, warm like stars, large planets, gas giants, and things of that nature. So when you put a continent on one side of the planet, and then you're going to have something rise up on the other side of the planet in the shape of magma or something to that effect. So you can if you use my understanding of to explain the first continent on the planet, it was a water world void of any. You can get into Genesis here, void of any land mass, just water. Got into an ice age, massive ice age over where the continent of the United States is, massive ice sheet built up heavy there for whatever reason, maybe the ocean currents, massive ice sheet. Then we go into an interglacial period, it thaws out, and you still have this massive ice sheet that's still hanging in with the rest of the planet is more or less water because of that massive deflection of the gravitational field. It lowers the gravitational field 180 degrees away from it, and you end up with the Himalayas, the beginning of the Himalayas. Now you go into another ice age. Okay, you got the Himalayas here, and back out of the interglacial period, or even going through
just
these
sort of bounces back
cycles,
and forth and stuff like that.
And it lowers the gravitational field, allows magma to rise up and create, the continental, continent of the United. I mean, North America, not the United States. Self-centeredness,
Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah, the Americans, right? Yeah. Same thing with Australia. It looks like Uluru is a much older, source of material than, say, South America.
Yes.
So Uluru comes into existence, and it offsets the gravitational field on the planet.
Yeah.
And then it causes, plate upheavals, magma currents, whatever. Then you end up with South America, so you get that locked in.
Have you taken into account, obviously you're talking about gravity, have you taken into account the magnetic fields with the poles and stuff like that? Because I imagine, like yourself, John, I've got 15 different research rabbit holes that I'm in all at once, you know what I mean? And one of them is it seems to be that the ice chases the poles. Okay, so the ice chases the magnetic poles. And disturbingly, the poles are actually they're converging, which is pretty disturbing. But there's converging towards each other. But have you taken into account the magnetic fields? Are you playing with that as well, or are you just playing with the gravity?
It's like gravity is the first foremost God force in the universe. Magnetism doesn't come first. It's gravity. Gravity comes first from mass, right? then that effect, you have the flow of, I mean, magnetism is the flow of electrons,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
that's what creates the Van Allen belt. Well, not the Van Allen belt, so the magnetic field, but that also creates the Van Allen belts also because it traps in the solar radiation and the
It traps the
magnetic
ions.
fields.
Yeah, it traps the
Yeah,
ions
yeah.
at certain distance. Yeah.
Yeah, so in essence, the magnetic field is there. It's a weak force. Like gravity's a weak force on the planet. Magnetism's a weak force on the planet. It's not. I mean, but it's gravity. I think is a stronger force. They say, oh, gravity's a weak force, but it's like, well, how can that be? It operates the sun. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, you know, so it's. I think that's a kind of like a misnomer. It kind of confuses people because it's actually the largest force in the universe, but it's also the weakest, you know, because the smaller the mass, the weaker the gravitational
That's
field.
right. Yeah.
But on the extreme, you can create supernovas and all sorts of other things. So, yeah. So that being said, you know, the magnetic field is a result of the mass on the planet, and it's also a result of the
spin and stuff like that.
The sun's, ions and all the other hot material that flows in from hot charge material, radioactive material that hits the planet. And I think myself, I kind of go out with the moon saying, you know, the moon, you know, might have something to do with the magnetic field. It might be oscillating the electrons also.
Yeah,
you know, like definitely has a connection with them.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah,
and I theorize that the gravitational field has a flow along with the electrons. You know, they kind of like merge in with each other and bond with each other. So I think the electrons bond in the North Pole, and they repel each other in the South Pole, and that's part of the locking mechanism that keeps the magnetic fields from swapping.
Yeah,
I think it's like 900,000 years, a million years since the last pole swap.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And I think that was the last, maybe the last large rebuild of the pyramid system on the planet, kind of balancing the, I think the pyramids also affect the magma currents, and magma currents are iron rich. They're iron rich, so there's a stabilizing currents going on, and that also keeps the poles from swapping. Now they're going to wander. It's just like a magnet. You heat a magnet up, there's no magnetism.
That's right.
Because you're destroying the flow of the electrons. You're causing resistance in the magnetic material itself. So when they cool down, like you said, that they follow the ice. So the cooler things get, the stronger the magnetic field gets.
Yeah.
Right now we're in the interglacial period. Things are warming up.
Yeah.
The poles wobble. There's evidence that they've been in the North Pole's been in like Canada and the Hudson Bay. South, it's been somewhere in the middle of the South Pacific.
Yes. Yeah.
Down, somewhere off the coast of Antarctica.
Yeah.
They float, so it fluctuates. I mean, but that's just based on temperature. I think a lot of it has to do with the temperature of the planet. So when we go into these interglacial periods, we warm up. The evidence is showing that we're having there's a weaker magnetic field and more ionized charged particles.
Yeah, coming in, which is warming it up. Yeah.
So it's just another large cycle. There's so many cycles on this planet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's cycles within cycles within cycles. This is the problem. When you start getting into this research, it's like, okay, yeah, we're 1 degree every 72 years, then it's a 12,000 year cycle, then it's a 26,000 year cycle, but then it's a 72,000. You know what I mean? Like it just
goes out and
it goes on and on and on. You said
you have the temperature changes.
Yes. Well, and this is we let's not get into the temperature changes. Yeah. But the Earth does have its own correcting mechanism. Look,
right.
Look, I think humans are not doing a real good job. However, this time around. However, the Earth does its own cycle, changes itself. You said something pretty big there, a bit of a throwaway comment when you said the last time the pyramids were built was 900,000 years ago. So,
Blasphemous, blasphemy.
yeah. No, look, I don't think so, man. I think it's one of those ones where it's like, one of the guys that helps out with the podcast, one of the founding members of Unlocking the Code, he had a Yoda moment one night. He's like, what if everything's true? It's just a matter of time. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
What if all theories are true? It's just a matter of time. Because obviously, look, I'm very objective, John. You know, I don't. I'm just curious, man. I'm just an explorer. I'm looking for perspectives.
That's the base for a good scientist. You know, you gotta pick
just
it apart.
Just looking for perspectives, man. You know what I mean? And look, I think I do, but like, if we are to believe the timeline, I mean, you talked about Australia before. I think if we are to believe the timing, which I don't know if I do, the timelines, the oldest bit of rock on the planet is actually in Western Australia, and it's the exposed rock, I should say. And they estimate that I think it's 2.8 billion or something like that years old. That's an exposed piece of rock. I mean, if we're to believe that the dinosaurs existed for 130 million years, okay, I think the latest, what did I see the other day, somewhere out of Crete, I think it was, there was a footprint that was 2.6 million or something like that, a Homo sapien footprint. Right. So I'm not adverse to the fact that some sort of hominid, I mean, understanding that we've identified supposedly 24 different hominids that have existed on this planet at some time or another. I'm not adverse to the fact that potentially this we have no idea, John. That's the bottom line, right?
Yeah, so well, a lot of it's hidden. Michael Cremo, I don't know if you've
Forbidden
heard
Archaeology.
Of him. Forbidden Archaeology, got into his book, and he's got the findings of modern man going back 400, 500 million years.
Crazy stuff, right? Yeah.
Modern man was entombed. They found the skeletal remains of modern man entombed in slate, and slate's like one of the oldest materials on the planet. It takes hundreds of millions of years to create slate.
And the pressure and stuff.
And there you have a preserved modern man skeletal remains
within the slate,
embedded, hundreds of feet down in this, slate tomb. Okay, that didn't have a doorway going to it. It was, in there. So you gotta say, okay. And then there's a couple ones going way back 500 million, but it's like I think the been doing the same thing over and over again. And the one thing we have to realize on this planet, that this is in my latest book, the Pyramids and the Great Floods, is that there is a massive cycle on this planet that just shuts everything down. Like there's a massive flood. Yeah. Floods are the worst. You get something 140 feet over, where you're standing today, but where I'm at, you're done. There's the infrastructure's gone, food's gone, all the houses, and then when the water flows off of the continents, there's massive currents. So you come back, there's nothing left. You might have a pyramid here. You know, a pyramid here or a face of a mountain here, that was chiseled out by some other people. Yeah. And that's, I mean, you can call it the Ice Age, you can call it, floods, whatever. But there's a massive cycle on this planet that just shuts down life and brings it right to the limit, right to the, the tiny gnat before it just wipes it all out, and then it recovers and rebuilds itself.
And the concerning,
not to go all biblical on you, or going into the ancient texts and stuff, but these stories are remnants of historical finding. They go back to
mate.
They go back to the clay tablets, Gilgamesh, and
it's the same story. It's the same story told over and over again. Absolutely, I think. And the thing with this, John, is that, and look, you would have seen it in your research too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all just a myth. Maybe it's not a myth, John. Maybe they're writing what happened, right?
Oh, yeah.
Why is Armageddon rocks coming down from the sky, volcanoes and floods? That actually happened 12,800 years ago. Something happened, right?
Yeah.
The world ended, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My latest book is it talks about the transition zone, which is a zone in between the upper and lower mantle, which has like 30 times the amount of water in it than the surface oceans do today, right?
Yeah, and they've actually that's
there's
just
your
come out
global
too as
flood
well.
source.
Yeah,
There's your global.
yeah.
It's 400 miles deep. It's under 3 million psi of pressure. It's in the form of waterlite and ringwoodite. And if that burps up, just a percentage of that goes above the upper mantle, and bleeds out through wherever. You're talking about and this is what they talk about, the fountains from the deep. If you go into the ancient texts, talk about the water rising, and that's it. It's all done. You hop on, you do the Noah thing. You hop on a boat, ride it out.
Yeah, that's right. Build an ark.
If you're lucky, when the waters recede, if you're lucky, there's a mountain around.
Yeah.
And you get back on. He was smart enough to take some seeds with you, because seeds are gold, right? Livestock. I mean, you have livestock, seeds to ride out these massive.
But the whole ark story, that's another one that echoes through every culture as well, right?
Yeah.
That's the other one. Like, it's obviously we in the modern world, we understand it through the Abrahamic faiths. However, it's something that echoes through all civilizations. It came
from Sumer. Those stories were the what do you call it?
The Sumerian texts and the
Sumerian texts. The Jewish scribes. They tell you that a lot of those stories were lifted from.
Well, Plato's story of Atlantis, same thing. You know what I mean? The origin stories of the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, the Trojan Empire. It's all the same, man. It's the same story told over and over again. It
goes up. What the problem is we never achieve a high enough intelligence to skip over these massive deluges or these massive. You got people saying it's the comet, it's the asteroid, it's the loss of the magnetic field, it's the sun burps, it does you get all 75 different ways it's all going to end. But the real one is the big one is the floods, the global floods. There's a geologist out on YouTube right now. He's put out great 4 or 5 I think it was 5 series, and the 4th series he did was he went out there and he was going. I mean, he's had tenure, he's well respected, been an insider his whole life, and he just couldn't lie anymore.
Couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
This crap doesn't make any sense. The crap you're pumping out here.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't explain the erosion lines, like just in a place like in Australia. Also, my neck of the woods would be the Grand Canyon. It's like there's no way the Colorado River carved, billions of years of gradual.
No.
Gradually, it's just
cataclysms.
So, but the way he drives it home is like the only thing that explains this is a global flood. And a lot of times you'll see these lands where they have these rolling hills, and if you've ever been in the ocean, you look at the floor of the ocean and diving, even just walking around, you'll see these waves, and how the hills and the land was actually carved by massive water flow runoff.
Absolutely.
So what happens is water from the deeps come up, they flood the whole place out.
And it's what do they call that? They call that the chevrons, don't they? That's the chevron, right? When you look at it from above, it's like you can see where the water's receded.
Right.
You can see that on a small scale, and then you can see it on the larger scale as well. I mean, I think the thing is too, John, like, and just for everybody, look, most of my listeners probably already know. However, they have just recently proven that there is massive oceans under the earth, right? There is
huge,
massive,
30 times the mass that we're seeing.
Yeah. There's massive oceans, massive caverns, massive that they've never thought before, right? I've said for a long time, John, that geology, when we did geology at school, and they got the bright ball and then the little ball and the bigger ball, and no one knows, man. That is just an artist's interpretation, right? That's not accurate. We don't actually. No, we've only drilled, I think it's 26 kilometers into the earth. I think the Russians did 26 or 28. And that's the deepest we've gone, right? It's not like we actually have a complete picture of what's underneath the mantle, but they have detected oceans, they have detected voids, and this is all just recent research, right?
Yeah, the irony is under the larger pyramid, structures on the planet, so Giza, Egypt, Shen pyramids in China, China, South America. Under all these pyramids are located. there's a location of these freshwater oceans,
Yes.
right? They take up like 4 countries, like in Egypt, it's Sudan, Egypt, the 2 other countries over there. But I
We've
mean,
got one down here. We've got one
massive.
down here, the Artesian Basin.
Yeah, you got that right. So and same thing under the pyramids of China, second largest freshwater ocean. Then you have down in Central South America, you have these oceans, and all along it's like these pyramids are over the top of these giant oceans. So so in my even in my pyramid book, the first one, I talk about how the gravitational field reacts on a pyramid. It's a lens. It strengthens the gravitational force under it, and it will pull the water up towards it. So it's pulling the water. Now this is over thousands and thousands of years. It just pulling higher and higher and higher until these freshwater oceans actually hit a saturation point, and they start coming up from underneath the pyramids. In essence, what I discovered was what I've come to realize is that GP1, the Great Pyramid of Giza, is actually sitting over a geothermal hydro vent, which is tapped into this underground ocean. It isn't full yet, but when it does fill up, it will take the water that comes up underneath the pyramid, and it'll channel it out, like say the descending passageway. It'll come up through the subterranean chamber. I don't know if you probably studied that, but it's
absolutely
one of the most eroded places on the planet. You go into the subterranean chamber, it's just eroded, just ground down to nothing, and that shows you there was a high volume of water and pressure that went through that chamber until it took a right-hand turn, and inside that chamber was baffles that took the water from the deep, if you will, made a right-hand turn, hit the subterranean chamber. I mean the descending passageway, and shot up to the main entrance. Now, all the main entrances on these pyramids are check valves. They open from the inside. You got to push it from the inside to open. We're talking 5-8 ton massive Stonehenge valves, really. So
it's interesting you said valves, because when I read your research and I read a couple of the interviews and did some of the stuff, it's like how it came to me in my mind, right, is that because I'm very mechanically minded as well, and it's like it's their relief that what you're saying is that these pyramids in some way are relief valves. Right. That's
they're controlling a water cycle on this planet that we're oblivious to. We're the proverbial species with amnesia. Nobody knows about this. It's just like, so in essence, you can look at every pyramid on the planet, and it's built over a hydrothermal vent also, right? And it's there to slow down the discharge from when we go into this water cycle, this big flood cycle. And it was leftover technology from a much brighter, sophisticated society. Maybe not as bright, the same intelligence, but just they had a little bit more going on.
I think it's a different interpretation, John. I think they understood. I think they
understood the largest cycles on the planet.
Yeah, I think there's also if we went a different direction, right? I heard an interesting interpretation years ago now, where it's like in the 1600s, 1700s, we were beginning to, it was a warm period, so that means a lot of food and everyone had excess, and we started sending explorers out into the world, right? And we sent these explorers to the pyramids, to these ancient cultures and stuff like that, and they were gone for a long time, okay? And then they came back. A lot of these explorers, you read some of these old explorers, they came back and said, hey, we need to rethink everything we're doing. There's different energies. We can do this, we can do that. And we said, no, we've already invented electricity, go away, right? So it's if we had to listen to the explorers, or if we had have actually tapped into the South Americas, we had tapped into the things that we found in Egypt, the things that we found in the Middle East, the things that we found in the Mediterranean, we would have taken a different way of technology, you know what I mean? Whereas we become mechanically based, right? I think these guys.
Yeah, we
These
were
guys
hijacked
understand.
early on by the the religious community and the oil industry,
Yeah,
the oil
absolutely. Yeah,
barons,
yeah,
the
yeah,
robber
yeah.
barons of the
Yeah.
1700s. They
Yeah.
it's a wonder Tesla was able to grow to the age to the ripe old age of where he's 90 some odd years old or whatever. So
Yeah,
um, you know,
broke, and all that sort of stuff.
yeah,
But I think
exactly. And we're paying the price for it now. Now it's like
absolutely we
the
are. Yeah,
same people that caused the chaos that we're in right now with energy and everything else are the same ones that, oh, we got to like get off the oil. We got to do this and that. It's like, well, we've been trying for the last 100 years, but you guys kept filling your bank accounts,
that's right. Yeah, all these guys that invent the alternative energy technology, they all crash into a tree, John. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, crash. Oh yeah, car accidents. Yeah. How do you want to die? Plane accident, car accidents, poison, shot, stab.
Yeah.
They shoot. Choice. Which way you want to go?
That's right. They shoot themselves in the head twice, John, just to make sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're serious about maintaining.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Power
I know.
So instead of letting the technology come through, they're like, well, we'll just get rid of all the people. Well, what an idea! Why didn't I think of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, it goes on, mate.
We'll leave us beautiful people here. And we'll get rid of the other 8 billion people that are walking around.
Yeah.
So
it's
like,
a concern,
they don't need us anymore because the infrastructure built everything they want. They think, and then it's like, okay, we don't need all these human beings walking around. So
no, we
really
don't need.
Dark.
It's dark. Well, look, let's steer away from the darkness, okay?
We don't want to get kicked off the internet,
But look, I think so.
Gunshots going through the wall,
Oh, mate, it's crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff, mate. When we talk about when we talk about the pyramids and we talk about all these sort of megalithic sites, the one thing that I've said for a long time is that what seems to be missing is the power source, right? So there's like, you've got, it's not just have you looked at, I was going to ask you, have you looked at some of the temples? Have you looked at some of the temples in Southeast Asia and stuff like that? Because that's their interpretation of the pyramid.
India, Southeast Asia. It's all high-tech stone turning, diamond technology, diamond tools, rotational machinery.
But is it, John, or is that just our mechanical interpretation of it? That's the.
There's like, it could be. It could be poured into molds. The people that were here. They as far as I'm concerned, they built the solar system. So.
Hang on a minute. They built the solar system. Stop.
Yeah. So putting a couple of temples and pyramids up was child's play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you think geoengineering on a galactical scale is at play?
Yeah, you got to step out back. Like the more and more you study the solar system, the planet, the moon, it's like there's no way it wasn't touched by the hand of high technology. There's too many coincidences, things lining up that just to happen naturally. It just doesn't make any sense. You'll see that with all your great researchers. They'll come around and say it was God, they'll
at the end of the day, come back to there's got to be a creator or something. Yeah.
Right, the creator,
Because isn't it, if the solar system was out by 1 degree, it'd be total chaos, right? It sits in its perfect alignment. You come back to the moon.
Yeah,
it's like the moon's been parked there, John. You know what I mean?
Because
how is it? It's the perfect distance between the sun and the earth to create an eclipse, right? Now, how do you?
Right, and it's the same size.
How is that? That can't be done by accident, John.
Exactly. It's just there's too many coincidences there. After you get over 1 million coincidences, you got to say, okay, wait a minute.
I think we created a word. We called the studio the refinery, John, where all ideas come to be refined. And we created a word called coincidi, right? It's like how many coincidi do you need? You know what I mean? It's like we've got 400,000 of them now.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, do you think? I mean, getting back to these temples, these pyramids, this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, I know I saw in some of your work, you like when we broke into the Great Pyramid, we disrupted the pressure through the robbers' entrance or whatever it is.
Right.
But do you think that these? I mean, so if you listen to Muhammad Ibrahim, he doesn't think that the capstones ever existed, right? There's a thought where there was no capstone, because that's the the big crystal capstone that sat on top of the pyramid, sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think the capstone was there. Actually, there's I think there's a picture in my book. I just want to get the date right.
No, you're right, mate. I mean, my question to you, John, obviously in your research, mate, is did something power these sites? Did something make these sites run more efficiently? Because to me, it seems that's what's missing from a lot of them.
Well, I think you need to do is focus in on what is the purpose, right?
Yeah.
So the latest purpose for me is geyser control during the water cycle, the large water cycle. It's in the Bible, it's in Proverbs. It's it's like God controls the water cycles. The word water comes up 722 times in the Bible. I mean, the Torah, the other Abrahamic religions were actually, takeoffs from Sumer, Sumat,
Yeah. It's the same story. Egyptian text, Sumerian text. Yeah.
So in essence, like these people weren't looking to generate power to charge a phone or power a city. They already had it. They had the technology. I did when I was in Egypt. I looked at the around it was GP2, and I look at these pock marks. Well, first of all, let me step back. You look at these rows of blocks that were cut off in the grade that were eventually transported into the pyramids. So they were harvesting the stones to build the pyramids locally from the grotto, from the grade, whatever you want to call it, the ledge.
Yeah.
They were transporting. Now they went up as far as the outer wall there, or whatever you want to call the end of the quarry, and they had these huge pock marks, like somebody just stuck the hand in and gouged out 10, 15 feet of material, and they were all symmetrical, symmetrical stacked. They were boom, boom, boom. And so you go to a modern day quarry, and what they use to cut the stone is high pressure water jets.
That's right.
100,000 PSI. They'll blast through concrete, not concrete,
whatever stone it is. Yeah.
Granite, limestone, you name it, right? It's fast, So I've got a video on YouTube on my channel that shows how they were doing it. And so they cut the stone vertically, they horizontally, then they just take the stones off and ship them off to the next pyramid, whatever. But the edge of the quarry, the remaining wall where they dug down, have these massive pock marks. And if you go to a modern day quarry, like I meant to say earlier, they have the same pock marks. They have the same jet holes that went past the stone they wanted into the grade that was left behind, into the ledge that was left behind. And that's all over GP2, GP3 behind where they took out a lot of the stone. So it's high pressure water. Like they were using high pressure water to cut these stones. So how do you get high pressure water? You got to have combustion engine technology,
or some sort of energy technology. Yeah.
So in essence, our stuff, like one global flood, you're not going to see one remnant of anything.
Oh no, no.
In the form of an engine or anything metal or anything. You might find like little tiny, doodads here and there, but for the most part, stuff's going to rot. Just go to the wayside.
Oh, look, I
wash out to the ocean. Absolutely. A lot of stuff on the global floods, like this guy said, a lot of the stuff just gets washed right out into the ocean. It's gone, buried, see you later. You never find it again. So,
well, and it not only does it break down very quickly, I think we don't understand how dynamic our planet is. So I spent many years in mining, right? So I did like gold mines and all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And we were in Western Australia, remote Western Australia, and there was this pump shack, right? The pump shack that we used to have to go and have a look at, make sure the pump was working. Now,
Right.
within 3 months, if you didn't go and like 6 months, right, you didn't go to that pump shack. When you went
Yeah.
back to it, it was almost buried, right? It was like
Right.
just with the moving sands and the moving dirt. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
had to,
exactly. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so like if you left that pump shack for 2 years, good
Yeah.
luck finding it. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
good luck even seeing where it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just the moving dirt and sands of
Right.
the desert in Western Australia. And you
Right.
know, metal, anything metal, yeah, it's like that's the classic. Where's the technology? Where is it? You know, well, anything metal breaks down within 100 years, or a couple of 100 years. You know, it's just going to be ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You know, like it's just going to
It's just
uh,
gonna fall apart and rust,
yeah.
rot. And yeah, the
And
rain's gonna get to it. The
and the
weather's
other
gonna get to it. The
the
sun
other
gets to it.
sun gets to it, yeah.
The sun would just, they'll just take it apart.
But here's the other thing too, right? And then, well, you just sort of said it there. You know, if you're a survivor of a cataclysm and you've got a big
Yeah.
broken machine, right? Are you going to worry about fixing the machine, or are you going to butcher it for its parts and
Right.
use blades or whatever? You know, like you're not.
Yeah. For survival,
Yeah.
weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
effect.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if
Yeah,
we're
like,
talking cycles of hundreds of thousands of years as well, I mean,
yeah, even with that great technology today with cruise ships and nuclear submarines. You just say you had a global flood tomorrow, right? The water comes up 150 days, 140 feet over everything, whatever, and okay, the waters recede to go back down to the transition zone. However the physics work there, it's a stratification process, whatever, and it takes like another 7 months for the water to recede back to where it generally was, where most of the land is available. These ships that might have rode that out, well, they need infrastructure, right?
That's right.
You got a Navy aircraft carrier, you got 5,000 guys on it. I guarantee you the menu of the day is going to be, B division, C division. We're going to be eating the pilots next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going right back to cannibalism. There's no food, there's no plants,
How many ships does a carrier? I mean, like a carrier group is what? How many ships? You know what I mean? Half of those are supply ships.
7 or 8, 9 ships. Yeah.
Yeah. Half of those
are
supply ships, fuel ships.
They're only good for 30, 40, 50, 60 days. I mean, 6 months, even if they made it through the flood, and then when the waters recede, the land's available, all the infrastructure, the machinery, the parts that keep these things going,
it's done.
Gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Your biggest thing is food. You get on, you better have some seeds, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you want to try to start planting and, like I said, you go right back to cannibalism. Unfortunately, that's what happens, and that's only last so long anyways,
So does your, I mean, my research indicates that we've missed out. That we're in a danger zone right now. Does your research indicate that as well? I mean, that we're at the end of a cycle. I mean, you've got the Kali Yuga, you've got all these different cultures basically warning us of this time. And I know
there's a lot of signs.
Every generation says that, I suppose, but I mean, it seems to be there's messages in the stone. I mean, you talk about Göbekli Tepe and Pillar 43. You talk about the Aztec sun disk, and all these. There's many different things where it's like basically in this cycle that we're in right now. Look to the sky in your times. Look to the, you've got to be aware, right? And like we said, mate, the world's kind of nuts.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got prophecy. I mean, you see a lot of things in prophecy, right? The water coming up out of the desert. Snow hit. I mean, this upheavals, more and more natural disasters. I mean, I just want to show you this picture here of 490 BC engraving of the pyramids in Egypt, and on top of them are like these 50-foot, 60-foot tall statues that sat on the flat parts of the pyramids.
Oh, okay.
And
I've never seen that before.
And around that, you'll see water and ships. So these things, guys that control technology, they control the waters from the deep to prevent, natural disaster hazards or disasters in the local area. So they control the water pressures coming up from the deep. And it's just in localized areas around the globe where this happens. We have the freshwater oceans. But anyways, I don't know if you get a good picture.
I know. I can see that.
Yeah. So I just throw that out there just to circle, go full circle.
So when was
back
that?
to
Sorry, that picture, that's from when?
490 BC. That was that's an engraving of a drawing that came through from 490 BC. So we're talking, 2,500 years ago.
2,500 years plus year ago.
So that kind of tells you, the environments. And in my book, on my latest book, I honestly believe that the global floods might be like on a 6,000 year cycle. Could be 13, but I think there's a it could be that small. Like you just wiped out. You don't, because you're like I say, these global floods, they take out everything. You just wipe out everything. The ocean's dirty. A lot of the life in the ocean. It's not like you can throw your fishing rod in there. There's, the stuff that comes up from the transition zone's toxic. So I mean, it's a really, really throttles life down as we know it.
Well, 6,000 years is interesting, John, because like I said, one of the other 15 different research rabbit holes is so my grandfather was a Mason, okay, and he left me some documentation and probably stuff I shouldn't have.
We got that from a Mason. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. But the Masons, so in the Mason calendar, it's 6022. Right? It's 6,022 in the Mason calendar.
Right. And then you had the Jewish year is 5,700
whatever it is,
or something like that. Yeah. So there's a tie in there.
There's a and look, I was talking to, like, as I say, one of the good things about the internet is stuff like this, right? We get to connect, we get to share ideas, and I've been at the podcast for 7 years now.
Oh, awesome! Well, I'm glad. I'm honored to be on the show here. Yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I sent that out to a few researchers. I'm like, what happened? Right. I didn't give them any context. I said, what happened in 4,000 BC? Right. And basically what came back was not much, right? What came back is that we don't really know, right? I mean, this is the other thing about the timelines too, John, isn't it? There's these big, massive gaps where it's like where we assume that we know, right? Assumption being the mother of all fuck-ups, John. You know what I mean?
Right. This is what happens with these global floods. Everything gets wiped out. You start at zero again. Boom. I think books like you got behind you, some books might make it through, technology, start writing stuff in stone, you get out your cuniform, you start doing your cylinder seals, You
just start from the start again. Like, I mean, how do you, it's like, how would you, like, if the flood came, mate, I mean, me or you can't do that. What's this thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You can't,
what's that? We got no idea,
Or a CD, or a thumb drive.
Even the most basic.
Right back to hunter-gatherer trying to survive. It's like, what's in the bag? What's in the bag? Like Göbekli Tepe, the guys at the bag.
Oh, the handbag. Yeah.
What's in the seeds are in the bag.
Yeah.
Seeds are gold, man. That's it. Non-GMO, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it too, what has every major country done as well? Everyone's got a seed vault somewhere, right? So why are they doing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a seed vault everywhere.
The powers that be know it, and we're picking up the human consciousness. You and I, we know something, like you said. Everybody's saying there's something big's going on, something's coming down. And we can't get into the B word and all that pandemic and all that. But something big's going on besides the crazy human activity on the planet. There's something larger happening. So, and that's just, I mean, again, you got to go back to the ancient texts, and this is what they tell you. They tell you,
absolutely.
These things, this happens, that happens, and what's amazing is we're getting the science behind these stories. Like, hey, we didn't know there was 30 times the ocean was, 400 feet down below our feet. The volume of the ocean on the surface is 30 times that is until 1997, which is, that's not that far behind or far ago.
What I find interesting, John, is that when, and you go to the Great Pyramid, you go to LIDAR, you go to, as our technology has advanced, and obviously that has been hyper accelerated over the last 20 years or so, as that technology advances, we see more into the past to gain a better understanding of what's going on. We now understand that the correlations of the Great Pyramid and the different measurements and stuff that are within that. I think, is it one of these scenarios, John? Obviously, okay. So we'll run with what you're saying. They're relief valves, for want of a better description. Yeah. Is there more to it than that? I mean, what's the void? You know what I mean? The German researchers found the void.
It's like what? It's like, why don't you just let just say the geothermal vents, hydrothermal vents that come up from the depths of the underground freshwater oceans. Like, okay, just let it blow to the atmosphere. Well, the stuff coming up could be generally going to be superheated water, superheated steam under pressure. And if you just let this water, these geysers, just shoot up, 20, 30, 50 miles in the sky, and for day after day after day, and again, if
that's ice age material, isn't it? That's
you're talking, so you're blocking out the sun, and you're literally, and this is in the Bible also. I can't say this, but there's some sections in there that talk about 150-pound blocks of ice coming back down. Right. So you take superheated, take superheated. I mean, you're traveling at 30,000, 5 miles above the atmosphere on a plane. It's below zero. If you get these guys is going that high, sub-zero weather is not even, that high, it's a lot lower than that. It freezes. It's going to come down, cascading down on everybody and everything, and just kill everything and destroy everything within the local area. Right. And then also you have you have a thick plume of clouds going around the planet, blocking out the sun, and like you just said, boom, you get another mini ice age. You're back in the ice age again. Like, how did we end up here? So to add insult to injury, not only do you have a flood, you're going into an ice age. So that's even another nail in the coffin.
Everything's been destroyed, and now you can't grow anything. Yeah.
So with these pyramids, you got these. You just come to the realization that there's a water cycle on this planet, as you can see in a lot of Enki's, imagery. He's like always submerged in some kind of water world with fish and fountains. And Enlil's more like in the dry. He's like in the dry season. And then that wheel and clock. With Enlil sitting in his big throne. There's a little wheel, and it has squiggly lines in it. At 4 points. Then you have the sharp points. Those squiggly lines represent water. Yeah. That wheel represents the yugas, if you will.
Yeah, the time.
Or the time, or the clock.
The wheel of time. The wheel of time.
Before you get into the next water world, so the next flood. So, so trying to stay on point here is that, so you build these pyramids. You're a high-tech society, a level 3 on a Kardashian scale. We're not even a level 1 yet. You're aware of the cycles on the planet. You build these pyramids over it. They come up when you enter the water cycle. The guys just come up from the deep. You take them, you shoot them out at like a 30-degree angle, prevent them from going up. And also you keep it pressurized. Now, all the pyramids in Giza and a lot around the world, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of them, the walls have bulged out, like the chambers, the passageways. They've all been exposed to enormous pressures. 10, 20,000 psi is what we're talking about here. We're talking enormous pressures, enormous temperatures. And these pyramids are like throttling it and just letting a little bit out, trying to maintain, control over it, and sending it out to like aqueducts that go out to, like, just say the Red Sea. And that's why you have the Orion configuration. If you look at the pyramids, all the discharge valves in the pyramids, GP3, 2, and 1, all go north. Right. And they all go right towards the Nile. If the Nile goes by on the east side, it takes a hard left, goes by all 3 pyramids on the Giza Plateau, and then takes a hard right going north again to the Red Sea or the Mediterranean. But anyways, I think it's the Red Sea. And there's ancient aqueducts that are in there from ground penetrating satellite imagery. They can see, they theorized, and they found Cleopatra's tunnel, tomb, or whatever. It's an aqueduct. It's filled with water as we speak.
Mm.
So you're taking this enormous water and you're shoving it to the ocean, and so it doesn't go airbound. So you keep it out of the atmosphere and cut back the potential for an early ice age, or wiping out the Earth's climate. The normal climate that we have right now. So it's really deep into theoretical geoengineering. It's really getting out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a classical geologist. I'm not I haven't been classically trained in university and stuff. I'm self-taught, but I mean, it's just common sense.
The thing is,
put
Johnny,
1 million gallons a minute of superheated water into the atmosphere, you're gonna have a big problem.
Yeah. I think a lot of this stuff, John, is if you can apply common sense and critical thinking, and as long as you're open to different perspective, then you will come to your own conclusion. I mean, look, it's very with the cataclysms. Obviously, you're focusing on the internal flooding, that sort of thing, and look, definitely, I can see how that.
Well, the evidence is all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. However, do you think it's a bit of a D all the above scenario as well, John? I mean, obviously rocks do come from the sky. Obviously solar flares are real.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of wonder whether it's a D all the above scenario. Every now and again, when you reach the cycle, whatever it is, maybe a rock comes from the sky, disturbs a magnetic field, then you get a solar flare. The disturbance of the rocks,
the comet hits, release the right time,
the water. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it could be a bit of a deal above, which is hard to think about.
It's all the above, and but you go into the ancient texts, and they don't really talk too much about it. There's more about the floods than
it's always the flood myth. Yeah, the prevailing myth is the flood myth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the flood myth, and so. Kudos off to Graham Hancock, doing he's out front. He's getting abused and beat up by all.
He's taking it. He's taking
I'm glad I'm not, I used to, want to be at that level of popularity, but I see what he's going through.
Nah, stuff that.
I want to put out a book and remain anonymous.
Yeah.
They rip me apart, So, him and Randall Cunningham.
Randall Carlson, yeah.
Carlson, yeah. They have, they put a lot into it. They're out there, but the four walls of the university, they have structure. You got to publish your papers. It's got to be peer approved. You can't be going too far out. And I've hired physicists to do work with me to, push my theories out, because they are theories. They have physical, what I like to call reoccurring physical, evidences that you can't deny. Like, this is here, the pyramids here, the volcanoes here, things of that nature. I mean, it's just, and it's just going up a real, you're going up against 100 years of thinking. Like, with my theory, I have to throw Pangea out. Pangea's got to go by the wayside.
Okay.
It's like, it doesn't make any sense, to me, and they get offended. These physicists get offended because they've been teaching this crap for 30, 40 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the accepted narrative. Yeah.
Not coming in going, some dropout out of third grade coming in, knuckle dragging, saying everything you've been doing is freaking wrong.
Yeah. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Did you know that?
Let alone he's Irish,
But I think, John, the other thing is too, mate.
There's a bunch of other stuff in my bloodline, but I'm just saying.
No, that's all right. That's all right. No, Irish are all right, mate. We're Aussies, man. We're half Irish anyway. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think the thing is, though, John, with exactly what we're doing right now, right? So I'm an independent researcher. You're an independent researcher.
Right.
We are both thousands and thousands of hours into our different research rabbit holes, right? And I think what's happening, it doesn't pay, I'm 6 years into a podcast, mate. I'm still working every day, so it's one of those things. It's okay. Look, it's a passion project anyway, John. It's not about that, mate. You know what I mean? And I've always seen it like that.
You're on a trajectory you got no control over. Your mind grabbed it. No. I mean, I was just joking the other day, going, there should be warning notices on these books, these alternative ideas and things of that nature. And there should be a warning, like a warning, you might be captured for like 20 years going down this trajectory. You know what I mean? don't go past page 5.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Coming back,
It's hilarious you should say that, because I tell people, I'm like, listen, I'd love you to listen to the show. However, I have no bearing on where you end up in the rabbit hole. Okay, it's not my responsibility. I can't take.
You got to sign a release.
Yeah, sign a release. I can't, because we just found each other in the rabbit hole, John. We're 10 miles deep. We got no torch. You know what I mean? We don't know where we are.
I come back. I mean, it's like, it's a love. It's like you get into it. You get you have this. You go on these, it's a rabbit hole. You get down there and you're like, whoa, you get these enlightenments and, well, this is amazing. That's amazing. I got to get a book together. And, I just wrote a book, started in October. September, there was no book.
Yeah, right.
All of a sudden, everything just came into focus. And, just locked myself into this place with, King Tut here. And we cranked out a book,
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I think. Look, mate, we might start to round this one up for today.
Yeah. All
right. Look, I've got to. Basically, what I want to do, John, is I want to do some more research into your work, and I want to have you back on, because I've got to.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting stuff. Yeah. It's very interesting stuff. Out of curiosity, what was I going to say? So the Flinders Ranges, we've got a massive mountain range that runs the east coast of Australia. I wonder what's on the opposite side of that. Just out of curiosity, but also
you're lined up with South America.
Okay, so it might be the Andes, that sort of thing. Maybe it might be the Andes line up with that.
Yeah, exactly. You could be, looking at the Andes. Let me see here.
Because we've got a massive mountain range that runs the length of the east coast.
I mean, I could just find you right here. This is South America, and like if you can see South America here, and there's Australia.
It would be too.
You guys are exactly across from each other, and you got the east side of the west side of South America is enormous. You can see the ridge.
Yeah.
And then you have you guys are
the ridge line across.
You got there's a. I don't know where the ridge is. Where you think
it's down the east coast. It runs the east coast basically.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. It runs the entire east coast.
Yeah, it is Antarctica, obviously, and then you can see North America lining up with the Himalayas, like right here, and the mountain ranges up here. But I mean that's kind of the and it makes sense. Like if you just had Pangea, this big massive mountain range.
Well, to be lopsided, you know what I mean?
The whole planet be like you're going down the highway when you just threw a weight off the tire, and it's after you hit 50 miles an hour, you start hopping out. Your fillings in your teeth start dropping out. So it just doesn't make any sense. So Pangea, if you look at the Pangea theory, they do not mention gravity once. Like you read it from head to toe. There's not one mention of gravity. And there's not one, I mean, they try to bulldoze you. Well, it's thermal hydraulic expansion of the plates and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And it's just missing that. Now they use paleontologists. We found this horseshoe crab like in North America, and then we found it over in West Africa. And it's like, okay, well, there's a human being, there too. And there's a human being over here. But this is, we've proved Pangea, and they go off and they hand each other a bunch of ribbons and Nobel Peace Prize, and a bottle of wine. They're just talking about how smart they are. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's the I mean, the problem is, John, is that the classic US one is the Clovis stuff, right? So it's like the Clovis culture was the oldest, but then some archaeologists actually kept digging, and as they kept digging, they keep finding more stuff, right? The deeper they dig, the more they find, right? Like we have a saying around here, mate, that a good spot's a good spot, John. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Whatever your intuition's telling you.
A good spot's a good spot, mate. You know what I mean? For a human, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what generation it is.
Yeah.
A good camping spot's a good camping spot. You know what I mean? A good
Right.
spot to settle down is a good spot to settle down.
Right.
I mean, the same thing with the pyramids and this sort of stuff too. I mean, you find a lot over the globe that this stuff's built on older architecture as well, isn't it? You know.
Yep, and rebuilt too. There's evidence
Yeah.
that they were this size, and then they made them bigger, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and more sophisticated. And yeah.
What about the? Have you looked into? Does the blah blah blah
I hit the back of my head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We call that a vocal stroke. That's okay.
There you go. Yeah.
The mercury, mate. The mercury in the base of some of these South American pyramids. Does that come into
Yeah.
your theories at all? Like what would?
Yeah, I mentioned that in my first book. It's like mercury's liquid, right?
Mhm.
And you're looking, you slap a pyramid. Just say, you know, I want to put a pyramid here. New theory, you know, it's a hydrothermal vent. Let's put a pyramid here.
Mhm.
And there actually is a hydrothermal vent physically located, found, and identified, categorized under the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico. Like, you get down and see it. Like, this is an ancient vent, right? So this thing's built over this. So I think in my theory, it's a hydrothermal vent from an underground ocean. But anyways, so anyway, you put if you took a plumb bob and just hung it up on the side of the pyramid of, just say, Giza or whatever, the plumb bob's not going to sit straight. The gravitational field, okay, on that pyramid is so large, it's going to pull that plumb bob out of plumb. It's going to pull it towards the pyramid.
Yeah, I've seen
That
some
being
videos.
said-
I've seen some videos of compasses and stuff going wild on the top of the pyramids. and that.
Compasses,
Yeah.
they can't use laser beams to what do you call it?
To do the measuring.
Do the measuring of the pyramids, because the gravitational field actually bends the lighting.
It bends the
bends
laser.
the-
Yeah.
It bends the light. The light of the laser gets deflected, so it doesn't, you know, hit the mirror. It should be hitting it, but it's getting pushed over. So surveying, they survey.
Yeah.
So they don't survey, you know, with lasers close to the pyramid. You go out further away from it, okay, but just follow
Within
me for a
that
second.
space.
So
Yeah.
so you got a high percentage of mercury. There's mercury everywhere. You put this pyramid in there. What's the pyramid? It's a gravitational beast. So what's going to do? It's going to pull liquid towards it. It's going to pull the water up from the ground towards it, and it's going to pull the mercury towards it over millennia. You know what I mean? So you're going to end up with a higher volume of mercury, and it could be mixed in with the water, the ground table water, you know, and things of that nature. So there's like in the pyramid, I think some of the pyramids in China, they found a very high, and in South America too, it was in Belize or one of those pyramids, they found a high concentration of mercury also.
Yeah,
But
well,
I
they
think
found there's a
all part
pool of mercury. There's like a pool of mercury under one of
so I think
the
it's-
South American pyramids. I can't
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
which
I
one.
think the same in China also, but I think it's all part of the gravitational pulling and migrating over a long period of time. You know, it pulls it through the surface. You know.
Well, there's
So,
got
I mean, it's just you got to give it its just due as being a larger gravitational field in that localized area, and it's going to pull things towards it, and it pulls liquid towards it. So that's part of the theory that I have.
Well, that's that. I mean,
I
if you-
don't subscribe to generating power or anything like that. I mean, you could. I mean, with the advent of these things being controlling deep thermal geysers coming up, yeah, you could harness the water pressure, rotating machinery.
Well, it's geothermal stuff.
You know,
That's
water
geothermal.
wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to operate and manage hydroelectric power plants on rivers. You know, so it's not really way out beyond, you know, the scope of imagination. That, you know, they could be using that also. But
Well, I used to drill geothermal, John. So yeah, we did. You know, there's geothermal power stations. That sort of similar thing. You know, you're running a steam vent into a turbine, and you know, just using the steam to spin the turbine sort of thing.
Where did you tap into thermals that would create steam?
Papua New Guinea. mainly.
Okay. Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Right. Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got another one down there, Christchurch down
Yeah,
there in
New
New
Zealand.
Zealand.
Yeah,
They got,
yeah. So
there's a lot
yeah,
of thermal
yeah,
activity.
yeah. So yeah, New Zealand did some work out in New Zealand outside of Rotorua and
Okay.
Taupo and stuff like that. And then I spent some time
Right.
up in the New Island province in Papua New Guinea, chasing geothermal wells.
Right.
I mean, the thing I don't think it's a bit of a gruesome story, but I like the steam. That's what you when you were talking about the pressure coming up from the earth.
Yeah.
Um,
Thermal.
yeah, we had. Well, it wasn't us, right? There was one Aussie rig, and there was like 3 Filipino rigs on the island that we were working on, and those poor Filipino boys got broiled on the drill floor basically because.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, because geothermal doesn't give you a kick, right? So oil and gas will kick before it comes back up. Like you'll get a warning, a few second warning, whereas steam doesn't. Steam doesn't, man. It just comes straight back up the hole. And these boys were broiled on the drill floor. It was pretty nasty, but and if you expand that, magnify, multiply that by X amount. It's a pretty dangerous thing.
I hear that. I mean, that's why I work with the high pressure steam, superheated steam, 3,000 psi steam going to turbines, supercritical boilers, turbines. You're at the limitations of metal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instrumentation. I mean, it's like shoot me before you get burned. Just come over and just kill
absolutely.
me. I don't want to live through a burn.
No,
I don't want to ever live through that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And you've got the sulfur, you've got the hydrogen sulfide, you got all sorts of stuff that comes up through the steam as well. I mean, all that stuff would be thrown up into the atmosphere as well, theoretically, if this. Is there? Do you think so? Okay, so with your latest,
I'll give you a visual here of the underground ocean, underneath the pyramid.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And so you have these oceans. Now, if you have a compromise in the upper mantle with the magma, that could just bubble up right underneath that ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about boiling billions of gallons of water, freshwater ocean in a cavern, pressurized cavern. It's going to go somewhere,
Well, that's what geothermal is, mate. That's what we're trying to tap into. We're trying to tap into those caverns, right? That's exactly what we're trying to do.
So you're tapping into the magma and then putting your own water into the coils and then getting steam. And this is just coming right up as superheated steam miles around.
That's what we were finding in PNG. That's what we were finding. We were finding these pockets of water. We didn't have to send water down there. We were finding the pressurized pockets of water.
Oh, this is the other guy I want to talk to. Yeah. So this is what we're looking at, but obviously at a larger scale than what
the larger scale. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we I remember we were talking to some geologists and seismologists out there because obviously it's on the Ring of Fire as well, right? And and we're talking to these geologists and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" I said, "Oh, we're gonna drill 6 kilometers." So basically, we had to drill. We're on an island, right? So you drill on the island, you drill down, you make the drill bit turn, which is an amazing bit of tech as well. Yeah. And so we drill down. It's crazy. But then we were basically aiming for a pocket 6 kilometers away. On a diagonal.
Did they see that from like a satellite? They could.
Geothermal signatures and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then they go, okay, we'll come over from this instead of going straight down, we'll come over at an angle.
We'll come over at an angle to see if we can, because basically what was happening was the power plant that was powering the gold mine was beginning to, the geothermal plant was losing steam, was losing pressure. So they were looking for alternate sources to bring the steam. Yeah. And basically, the layman's, I mean, you would already know, but we're plugging directly into into these holes with water in them and steam. Right. And you run 3 holes. You run an in hole, a middle hole, and an out hole. And the middle hole is where you dump the cold water down, because instead of using the water to create the steam pressure, this stuff was that hot that you used to have to cool it down. Right.
Wow.
Because as
Wow,
you say, you're at
yeah.
the edge. You're at the edge of turbines.
The limits, yeah, your most steam turbine blades, they don't want to go over 1,000 degrees.
Yeah. And you're
first
flirting.
stage,
Yeah. You're flirting with the edge of that stuff.
The metallurgy breaks down a
yeah.
lot faster, and then the oil, you're trying to, remove the heat and condense it,
and heavy H2S as well. Like we used to have to walk around with gas detectors on. Everyone had a gas detector in their pocket, in case, And we had to evacuate probably 4 or 5 times. And the trick with the H2S is that you got to run up and away, because the H2S is heavier than air and it settles.
Right. Get up above it. Yeah.
Wow. But long story. If you smell bitter almonds, that's your nose hairs. That's basically your taste dying.
Right.
You're on your way.
You're on your way out. You better take whatever breath you got. Hold your breath and run.
Yeah. But no, look, and these things. Yeah. They're all over the place. What I was going to ask you, John, do you think, obviously, your latest book's about these flood myths, and as you say, the flood myth is the most pervasive myth. It goes back here in Australia
to the oldest writings.
Here in Australia, the indigenous culture here, they talk about the rainbow serpent and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? It goes back old, right? Do you think that it needs what is my question is, what is the cause, right? So do you think it is there a causal link? Like I said, is it a D or the above? Does a rock come from the sky, smash into the mantle that releases the water, or do you think it's a cyclical thing, or what do you?
It could be that, but even if you didn't have any external,
influence,
comets, asteroids, alignments, whatever. If you just go back to the original, just go back to the flood. Okay, the flood came, God came, he divided the firmament, right? He divided the firmament. Once he divided that, just as an engineer, he divides something, right? And then the waters recede and the land appears, right? So at some point, and this is multiple verses, chapters in the Bible, Gilgamesh, the Samaria, the Anunnaki, something gets divided, and then the waters recede, and then you start over again, you multiply, blah, 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 right? So in essence, what's going on right now is that the subduction zones, the floor of the ocean is like, 20,000 PSI in the deepest part of the ocean, somewhere around there. And then, you get the subduction zone. And what it is with the subduction zone over time, it's going under the continent, and it's water impregnated mass, right? So there's a huge percentage of water that's getting pushed down into the upper mantle and into this transition zone, where some kind of a stratification process where the water goes into maybe because it's it's a heavier element, so it's below the magma and between these two places. So that's a cycle. We have time right now. We have cycle, right? So at some point, you're going to hit a saturation point where, okay, this transition zone can only hold 10 billion gallons of water, just throwing a number out there. Once you get to, you get over the 10 billion, it fractures, it erupts, it pops above the upper mantle, and then this stuff bleeds out every orifice on the planet, the floor of the ocean, and it just comes up from the deep, just like the ancient texts tell us. So there's a cycle there. There's a cycle of time, and it's just unbeknownst to everybody, there's not a blue vinyl pool liner on the floor of the ocean. Right? It's pervious. It's leaking like a sieve, It's gonna go down. It's gonna go down. Yeah, there's pressures down in the upper mantle that's higher than the ocean, but there is a force. So what happens is and when the flood starts, God removes his hand from what he divided. It comes together again. It pops back up. Now it could be as simple as an asteroid hitting, buckles that transition zone and pops out all this water. Could be like they talk about there's a dead star that was discovered, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, way outside the solar system.
Well, see, I would have maybe said that was Nibiru. You know, the thing that's on the elongated orbit. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So Nibiru is rotating around this dead star, right? That's what they found. They found the planet. They found the planet, but then they kept looking. Then they found the dead star, and the dead star has, guess what? A 26,000 year orbit around our sun. So it comes into the solar system, and it could be that particular external force that buckles the thing. And we talk about God, divided, and then it came together. Because you're not going to get into this real heavy, deep physics stuff. You're just going to, just say this is what happens, and leave it at that. But so as soon as that discovery came in, the astronomers that found it, they put the papers out. Both of them died within a week of each other with throat cancer, right?
Yeah.
And the whole damn freaking discovery, you can't even find it on the internet. It's gone.
No.
This guy, he was on an Australian guy there. What's his name? Paul Wallace.
Oh yeah.
Paul Wallace.
Yeah.
I think he had interviewed this guy, he's local to me. I think he's a couple, a state further north than I am, up in Maine or New Hampshire, but I forget his name. His name escapes me, but he was like right on. He had some leading knowledge on this particular discovery. And it just vaporized. It was gone. So, again, they don't want to get anybody alarmed. They don't want to cause any hysteria. The Death Star's coming in and going to take out the planet, which is what you want to do anyway. You don't want to cause any undue stress, or panic or things of that nature. We already got enough going on with wars and everything else. So they don't want anybody cutting into their action. They want to scare the shit out of everybody. They don't want doing it. They want, that's our business. We're in charge of scaring the shit out of everybody.
Right. We're trying to suck your souls dry and scare the crap out of you. Because look, I sort of did wonder that, mate. It's because theoretically, that planet or whatever it is on about. I think what the Sumerian texts say, a 3,500 year orbit or something like that, or 12,000 or.
Yeah, that doesn't ring. Yeah, it's 3,000, but it's like when we were recording stuff going back that far, there's no mention of Nibiru cruising through and causing a problem.
Well, no, so all right, so yeah. So so we thought about this, right? Because we went, like I said, we just dug into the Sumerian text here a little while ago, right? So if you've got your solar system, so follow me here for a second, right? So you've got your solar system. This thing's on a 3,500 year orbit. It's not going to pass us every time. You know what I mean? It's entirely dependent on where our planet is, right?
Yeah.
And maybe, because everything's cyclical, maybe it's every 12,000 years or every 26,000 years that Earth is in the right place. Where it gets affected.
You're right in the angle of the solar system.
Right. So that's what I mean. So
when it comes in, and we're not getting affected behind the sun when it comes through. And
that's right. Yeah. So we may not see it. We only may see it once every 4 cycles or whatever it is, right?
Like that.
And that's sort of how we thought about it, because we did exactly what you did. There's no real record of a giant planet coming out of the sky. However, but what if it depends on where the Earth is on its rotation? You know what I mean? So it could pass in and out and not have any effect on us whatsoever. But maybe that's the yugas, mate. We're currently in the Kali Yuga, the time of chaos, right? And maybe it's during the time of chaos that this thing comes in. Because like I said, I was trying to. Because I've got my globe over there, but I've got a small one here somewhere. Because we're doing some research on the magnetic poles, and it seems to be that they're converging, right? So they're not going. So they're not doing. Where are we? So they're not doing these ones, right? They're going like this, right? They're converging. And now, if there's a big metal planet or something that's coming towards us, right? That would affect the gravitational pull, like you're talking about. It would then the magnetic field is going to converge to a point. You know, I mean, and like you said, everybody with any sort of awareness who held the line and didn't buy into the
Yeah.
bullshit over the last few years has we've all got a bad feeling in our guts. You know what I mean? Everyone's like,
Yeah.
something's like, obviously the world's in chaos and there's evil overlords that are trying to
Well,
control
well,
us, but
yeah,
there's something that's larger than that. That
right.
a lot of us are feeling. And what if it is
Yeah.
that was the, I think it was like midnight here in the refinery, and we're like, oh no, what if it's Nibiru coming in?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. What if it's
Well, yeah, I
the
mean,
second sun coming in to disturb
the
everything?
dark, what do they call it? The dead star. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like everything has an opposite. We have a live star and there's a dead star. It's like it's actually a binary orbit.
Yes, it's the balance.
Between
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
dead one's dead. It's just you still have that mass, but there's nothing to ignite there's nothing to burn. There's no nuclear reaction, fission, fusion, or anything, because it's nothing. It's all burnt out, but it's still a mass.
Yeah, it's still a mass for sure.
They're theorizing that that's what's causing the whole
The wobble. Yeah.
the wobble, and also causes the whole solar system be pitched down by 10, 15
it's
degrees.
tilted. Yeah.
Where it
It's
should
tilted.
be aligned with the galactic center, but we have something.
Yeah, something's tilting us. Yeah. Something's tilting us.
There's a
Something's
little
making
drag
us wobble. Yeah, I think it's. Yeah,
but
listen.
you need. I mean, you're going philosophical here just a little bit. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're right, man.
It's like you need something to shut it down. Like if you look at the human mind, you got somebody's got to stop it. Like there's got to be something that stops it. Because there's just too much going on, and I think that's part of the overall plan for this universe, for this solar system, the Earth, and everything. We're down here to grow spiritually. If you believe in incarnation, your soul, comes down. Whatever you select for the next life, you want to be a rock star, or you want to, drill holes for geothermal engineering, whatever. You know what I mean? So you make your choices. You want to work on a power plant like a lunatic.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so you get down here and do it, but so the overall experience stays alive down here, and the human mind gets to thrive and enjoy these discoveries, because you stay here long enough, you're going to figure everything out. Everything's going to be figured out, and it's going to be, what's the point, So, I mean, I think the human experience doesn't want to have everything figured out. It wants to have
well, we love the mystery, don't we?
We want to try to figure out, what's the big, cataclysm, what's driving it, what's coming in. I mean, just that stuff that we're talking about right now. But, going full circle, that you can see that there's every species on the planet has something that throttles it down, and generally it's nature. Nature throttles down things, and they don't take over. Like a species just doesn't go totally evasive and wipes out all the other species on the planet. There's some kind of
there's a balance. There's always a balance. Yeah, there's always a balance, right? And I think. Well, that's why we've got a big bright star. There's got to be a dark star. I mean, that is the balance. That's a balance, man. Everything has an opposite. It's the dark. It's the light. It's the masculine, the feminine. I think you talk about incarnation, and you talk about what is our purpose. I think our purpose is to the best of our ability individually achieve balance. Right. I think it's the dark, the light, the good, the bad,
overcome the temptations, try to do the right thing when it's hard to do the right thing,
Yeah. I think
sacrifice, sacrifice yourself for the betterment of somebody else, give your life for somebody else, or, I mean, it's pretty extreme, but human beings do that. They'll jump in front of something and to save somebody without even blinking an eye,
Yeah, well, that's lives, that's the thing, It's I think the eternal battle within us all, mate. It's like on one hand you're a drop in the ocean. The ocean forgot about John, right? That's how insignificant you are. You're nothing, right? We're nothing, right?
I've been out in the ocean, man. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other hand, you are the most powerful creator that ever existed ever. Right.
Right.
I mean, we've only got to look around our worlds, everything
Right.
here came out of the ether through
Right.
human hands, right? So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, and that's we've got to live within those
Construct.
two worlds, you know. And you know, I think if we can achieve, one of the big parts of research that I'll be digging into this year is the triptych, right? And that's basically it's basically the echoes of this universal religion that once existed, John, right? That we hear about, and it was basically about humans achieving enlightenment, for want of a better term, right? Because if you can achieve that balance, I mean, you would have been in the zone before, John. You know what I mean? In the flow, in the zone, and that's you. You are one with the universe,
becoming
man.
weightless.
Yeah,
meditating, levitating.
absolutely.
I mean, you have the ability. It's just a small field you got to control around your body.
Yeah,
it's not like
you're not trying to move the planet. You're just trying to move yourself.
You just let the stuff flow through you, and you just levitate above it. I mean, that's all possible. You've got witnesses that have seen that happen with yogis and other greats out there. They achieve that that state of mind.
Well, I mean, the thing is, what did you say before, John? You didn't have a book in September. By the end of October, you had a book, right?
Right.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, where did that come from, man?
Like,
that's like a download from the ether. It's like, hey, John, you got to get this stuff down, mate. Get it down right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like 5 years. Like I did the pyramid book, 5 years, did the moon book, and then it's 5 years I'm into the this another pyramid book, and it's but it's just like that 5 years of sponging, learning, and then it's like you're just going down these, like you say, rabbit holes. You're just going down these dead end streets. Boom, it's like a maze. You hit the tree, you got to turn around, go back the other way.
Yeah.
And then finally you get the you get something that's like, whoa, this is important. We gotta, let's put this out there and see where it goes.
But I think the important thing in that process, John, is that when you hit the wall, it's like, okay, that's okay, we hit the wall. All right, so this one didn't work, but it's that perspective that gives you the next perspective, right? It's okay, all right, I've taken this one, didn't work out, that's cool. Now we take that information, we back out, and then we go a different way. And it's using that information that didn't work that makes the next one work, or whichever way it works.
Exactly. It's like nothing. All knowledge is instantaneous, but at the same time, it's like you just tuck it away. It's a file. Okay, studied gravity, studied this, study that, and it's like, okay, and then you'll find yourself. It's almost like intuition is driving you to study some obscure stuff that has nothing to do with anything, but you still go through it. You plow through it, and then you move on. And then for 3-4 years later, all of a sudden, bam, you get hit in the head with a 2x4. And it's like, Jesus Christ, That's why I was looking at this obscure stuff. It's like, so.
And that happens, man. That's happened to me as well. Like I've got, this year, like, all the chaos put paid to a lot of my plans, John. I'm going to do some seminars this year and all these sorts of things, but it's all this stuff. It's like, okay, I studied that. And you're right. It's like, why did I just spend 3 hours reading that? I don't know why. But then 2 years later, it's like, oh, you remember that joins with that, which joins with this, which joins with that.
I mean? So you couldn't get to where you were unless you had that one, kilobyte of knowledge, a tiny little kilobyte that connects these three, 4 or 5 orbs.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important. That's an important message to get to everybody. Like, just follow your nose. Look into the obscure, weird stuff. Look, if it doesn't amount to anything, at least you learn something new, right? It's about acquiring that knowledge, acquiring that perspective.
Yeah.
Well, John, mate,
how your mind works. It's like have patience for the human, the human experience, and just go through it.
Absolutely, mate. Well, mate, listen, I really, really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you wanted to speak about before we wrap this one up for today, or?
No, I mean, like I said, I got a couple books out there.
We'll tell the people where they can find you, mate.
There's 2 on Amazon, 1 on Lulu Books.
Send me all the links, mate. We'll exchange emails and send me all your links and whatever else you need. And
All right, yeah, I'll send you the stuff. And
yeah, I'll make sure that I promote it in the intro and all that sort of stuff, mate. And
yeah, I appreciate it. I got a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting the word out, trying to raise the human consciousness. I mean,
that's all we're trying to do, man. That's all we're trying to do, And I think
you have these brilliant souls that come in and out of this realm, like Edgar Casey, Gandhi, I mean, just these amazing souls that overcome such atrocities and horrors, and then you have they're just here operating on pure love, like a lot of these. You can see the real ones. It's just pure love that they're striving, that single point of love. They just they're focused in on it, and they bring back the knowledge, and they touch humanity with it. And there's so just focus in on the great minds that have come and gone, and that's kind of the message I leave for everybody. Just focusing on that point. That point.
The love is the answer, John.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't fall.
Yeah, love is the answer, man. And the thing is that the problem is with modern society, it's not the sex sells bullshit we see on social media and TV.
Right.
It's the love of a brother. You know what I mean? Understanding that we're all brothers and sisters on the same big blue ball hurtling through infinity, mate.
Right.
And and we need to remember that. And if we could all do that, if we could all employ common sense and critical thinking, right, and we could all get over ourselves and realize that love is the answer, and all these bullshit things that separate us don't mean anything. And we actually, as a collective consciousness, came together and focused in on these problems. There's nothing we couldn't solve, man. And I think
we can figure it out. And quiet the noise. I mean, we got some dark entities on the planet that just loving it. We're at each other's throats. They're thriving on it.
Yeah.
If you look at an individual as a spirit, there's a soul behind it. There's a force. There's a life force. And forget the race and get the color, the height, this, that,
doesn't matter.
And all the other stuff. It's just, you're talking, you're talking to a spiritual being here. So,
well, look, mate,
it transcends a lot. A lot of the nonsense that we're, bogged down with on this planet.
Well, I mean, think about this, John. Like, I literally messaged you 2 days ago, and you said, "Have you got some time this week?" And here we are. Now we're mates, right? 2 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I hope I'm down here in Australia at a seminar or whatever, your conference or something. I'll be speaking next.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and then there's the thing that
point down there,
Yeah,
you come up here,
Absolutely, and that's the idea, John. Right? That's the idea. I approached you with respect. You approached me with respect. And
that's it.
Here we are.
And
here we are, man. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lesson in that for everybody, mate. So, well, John, I think this is our first conversation, mate. It's definitely not going to be our last. We've got more to talk about. And I really appreciate your time today, mate. And until next time.
All right, man. Enjoy the day. Peace out, and just stay healthy.
Keep searching. Keep searching. Good on you guys.
Don't give it up.
Cheers.
All right. Peace out. That's it.
Just want to go again?
Let's do it. Go again.
All right. I know you been here before. No surprises, settle the score. I know the darkness deep inside, reckless rage, poison pride. I know the anger, I know the pain, and I know the fear we do not name. And the one who comes to find me when my time is through, I know you, I know you. Wow. better.